Okay, we've spent a few minutes discussing what Techeiles is, but now let's talk a little bit about why we don't have it anymore. How did Techeiles get lost? Well, we know that we used to have it. Even long after the Churban, the Gemara discusses making and using Techeiles at length. So, what happened to it? Have we ever had anything that was forgotten to such a degree in halacha? Think about it. For centuries, Yidden were moiser nefesh to keep our mitzvahs, so it's unfathomable that something was just forgotten. And remember, we're not talking about just a minhag. This is a mitzvah saseh d'oraisa. And if the exact process for how to write tefillin and mezuzahs and even my bubby's tzimis recipe can be passed down flawlessly, how is it conceivable for us to have lost an integral part of a mitzvah that every single man performs every single day? Could it be the persecutions that Klal Yisrael has endured throughout the centuries?
Well, persecution has yet to taken away such a fundamental mitzvah in any other area in the Torah.
Perhaps we can explain the mysterious disappearance of the Techeiles based on a Gemara. Let me explain. Now, the royalty took themselves very seriously. It shouldn't surprise anyone that laws were made that commoners cannot dress like royalty. In fact, one of the laws in the Codex Justinian, an ancient collection of Roman laws, mentions that if a person would be found wearing blue or Tyrian purple, he would lose his property and his head. No private person shall have the power to dye or sell purpura goods, silk or wool, which is called blata, oxyblata, and hyacinthina. And if anyone shall sell cloth of the aforementioned murex, he may know that he incurs risk of losing his property and his head. We actually have echoes of such a gzeira from the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. The Gemara tells us that a message was sent to Rava saying, Zug Bamei Rakas, a pair of scholars came from Rakas, which is Tveria, and was caught by a nesher, a troop of soldiers. In their hands they carried things manufactured in Luz, which the Gemara explains is Techeiles. In the zchus of Hashem and their zchus, they came out in peace. This Gemara about smuggling Techeiles is one of the last records of Techeiles being used before it seemingly vanished. And more importantly, it implies that Techeiles was outlawed. It wasn't just accidentally forgotten, it was actually outlawed. And why was it illegal? Well, because the royalty wore it. The Ramban also points out, when discussing the Bigdei Kehuna in Parshas Tetzaveh, that Techeiles was the same material that the royalty wore, and that it was illegal for non-royalty to wear it. One of the things we know about the Techeiles is that it was very expensive. The cheaper and more accessible option was Kala Ilan, the indigo plant, which produced an identical blue dye, but there was one issue. It faded over time. So it wasn't an ideal dye for royalty to use. So, the Radvaz explains, when they figured out a way to make the indigo dye permanent and not fade, it replaced the more expensive Techeiles dye. It was the same color and quality, it was just easier and more convenient to produce. The royalty just didn't need the expensive Techeiles anymore. And so the Techeiles industry faded. Soon enough, no one was producing Techeiles from the Chilazim. There was just no industry for it, because even the non-Jews stopped utilizing it. So there was just no access to Techeiles anymore. So let's sum this up. We've established that the royalty who wore Techeiles subsequently made it illegal to produce the Techeiles, and people who were utilizing Techeiles found more inexpensive options to achieve the same end result of blue dye by using Kala Ilan, thereby obviating the need to produce Techeiles at all from the Chilazim. Now, if only we could